This is week 2 of Mobile App Portfolio 1. We'll do a little bit of a recap from last week. So I'm going to share my screen and we can cover a bit of what we covered last week just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Did anybody have any questions about where we left off with last week? So I have a bit of this covered here from a high level on week 1. Any questions about that? So remember, we have Lab 1 due tonight at midnight. Today's September 17th. It's worth 3% of your overall mark. So if we click in here, Lab 1 is uploading your UML diagrams. So I talked about it in the videos here. Basically, if you click Lab 1 in class here, I want to see a screenshot of your UML diagram, either for the bank system or a different system. And then upload some domain name ideas. You don't have to purchase the domain name, by the way. Someone emailed me that asking that question. It's just to make sure that the domains you want are available right now and that you're thinking about that, because we're going to cover domain name registration next week so that we can purchase our portfolio websites and get them started. The domain registration I'm going to be using is Namecheap, but if you guys want to do it through someone else, then that's totally okay. Just research who you want to do it through so that you can follow along as we do that. Have your credit card ready or whatever for next week so that we can go through that process together. Cool. And then I asked you guys to start working on your brainstorming and inception phase for your app idea. Okay, so did anyone have any questions about what the SDLC was, what we covered last week, anything like that?
Sir, hello.
Hi.
Sir, I want to ask that the diagram that we have to submit of UML, and we have to create the detailed version of UML or like overall?
A detailed version of the UML
Yeah, I want to ask.
versus what?
Versus maybe 6 to 7 linked with each other.
You mean like 6 to 7 use cases in the diagram itself
Yeah.
versus like an extremely detailed one?
Yes.
I would try to have at least a couple actors, so like 2 to 3 actors, and then 10 use cases.
Okay.
Yeah, and then obviously do the associations and the generalizations with those. Yeah.
Okay. And then the brainstorming you are talking about, and the brainstorming one will follow the same system that I decided for UML. Or can I change after that also?
Oh, you can change after that. We're gonna do some of that today. So if you do change your mind based on, yeah, the UML can just be any system. Like you could do it for Amazon, you could do it for Facebook, you could do it for eating some food out of the fridge. I don't really care. It was just sort of get you comfortable with making a use case diagram on that model generator on the website. But then when you brainstorm, it can be something completely different, like your own idea, if that makes
Oh,
sense. Yeah?
okay, sir. Yes.
Cool. All right, sweet. Sweet. Okay, so let's get into the week 2 stuff. So I want to start off with doing a little bit of a last week we learned. So you'll see here the first couple things. This is the lesson plan for this week. If you wanted to look at it, it's basically just a document for me to keep myself on track while I do this lesson. So it just looks like this. We're going to review last week. I'm going to introduce a different type of diagram, and then we're going to do an in-class exercise. So here you can see Lab 2 is the second item in the Week 2 folder. So I want you to submit your completed brainstorm document from Week 1. It should have at least 2 or 3 fleshed out ideas, and you're going to use that document in class today. So it should be finished already. If I go to Weekly Learning Week 1 in Blackboard here, that document I'm talking about is this brainstorming template here. And when you download it, it was just that Microsoft Word document with 10 options in it for you to work on. So just close that. Do I have it here? No. Oh, yes, I do have it downloaded. It looked like brainstorming template. It looked like this. So you're just going to submit the Word doc so I can review it. And you're going to have 10 ideas and then put your best ones at the top here in the top couple lines, right? So that is due today. So by the end of class, that should be submitted right here in the lab too. Okay. And don't worry, it's not like I'm going to judge your ideas if they're bad or good or whatever. I want you to show that you actually put some thought into it though. So actually come up with some ideas that you would want to work on over the semester. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Like we have to mention the applications that we want to make in future, or what kind of brainstorming are you asking for?
So when I talked about if in the videos, like if you watch these videos here, videos 1 to 4, we talk about the inception phase, and we talked about starting to brainstorm an app that you wanted to build over the course of this semester in the mobile app portfolio course. So we're going to get an opportunity to go through the system development life cycle, which we'll cover in a second here as a recap from last week. But it's basically a 5-step cycle or framework that we use in developing apps, and we're going to go through that cycle with one of our own app ideas. And the very first step in that cycle is the inception phase, which is coming up with your own idea and researching it and kind of planning, right, as your first step before you get into the design and the development, if that makes sense. So the brainstorming was to help you with that. Cool.
Sorry, but I did not get that. Like I have to mention multiple ideas or the planning parts for that application. But I want to add in that application like hamburger or the other features like that.
So basically, you're going to want to try to come up with ideas that you could make for like a business or a brand for yourself, right? So I think I gave the example of a dog walking application in the video.
Yeah.
So that would be idea number one in my brainstorming template, right? And
Okay.
then idea number two might be like a food delivery system. And you come up with like when I look here, when you're submitting it, I want to see that you have, I think I listed 2 or 3 actual flushed out ideas. So the other ones, you can kind of leave them, but I want to see what your 2 or 3 main ideas are, and I want to see that, you've actually put some thought into them.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Like 2 to 3, I have to mention some details. Like if I'm saying to gym application and I have to add the why my application is better than others, like that things.
No, not yet. You don't have to worry about that stuff yet. That will be today in a different activity.
Okay.
Cool. So this is just a really basic, like you're going to list what your idea is and how kind of thing, and you'll see later today we'll get into more of that stuff when we're talking about competition and researching our competition.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah,
So,
no worries. Yeah, someone else had a question?
yeah, so that list would, so do we have to give a short description what the idea is, or only names of names?
Yeah, yeah. Give a short description of basically what you want it to do, how it would work, um, and like why you would want to build that. Like what problem does it solve,
Okay.
right? Cool. Um, So all of this is covered in the PowerPoint, like how to come up with and come up with an inception phase. So you should have done this already from last week when you watched the videos and did the work asynchronously. I asked you guys to download that brainstorm document, and it should have already been worked on from last week. So I'm just getting you guys to upload it into the folder this week as your homework from last week. Cool. So if you didn't get a chance to start it or you're traveling or whatever, watch through those videos because I talk about how to brainstorm and what I'm looking for and that kind of stuff. So do take a look at those videos. We're going to continue our brainstorming process building off of that document today. So it will be good for you to have those ideas in that document finished because we're going to kind of build off of it today. Okay. So I want to start with a recap from last week just so you guys kind of can have a refresher on what we covered in the videos. Who remembers or who wants to shout out some of the concepts that we covered? Any takers? You can put it in the chat too. I'll open my chat. I'll give you the first one. What is that? What are those two things? UML diagram. Yeah. Okay. What is a use case diagram? Yeah, which is part of UML. Awesome. Yeah. Software development lifecycle. Thank you. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So this is the software development lifecycle. And can you remember the 5 stages, Daksh? I'm hoping I'm saying your name right. Daksh. Daksh. You can correct me if you want. What are the 5 stages? I will change these to numbers. So 1 is, oops, inception. Yeah, perfect. So that's the phase that we're on right now. And then design, development. Yes, great work. Now these kind of go into, yeah, testing. Yeah, testing or support. And then deployment. Awesome. Good work, guys. Perfect. So those are the 5 stages, and we're going to go through those with an app idea that we come up with. Now, the use case diagram. What are some main aspects of a use case diagram, and what does UML stand for? Anyone know? 2 questions. What does UML stand for, and what are some aspects of a use case diagram? Unified modeling language. Yep, perfect. Okay, that is what UML stands for. Unified modeling language. So it's like a set of tools basically that we use to make a model for a system at the very beginning while we're planning. And the reason we use UML, whoops, we use UML basically to bridge the gap between technical and non-technical people for business purposes. Right? So if you're in a meeting with some funding people, like some rich bankers, and you have this app idea, you use some of this unified modeling language and you put it on the table and you show them a diagram so that they, who aren't necessarily skilled with the technical side of it, can look at it and understand what the system is supposed to do. Cool? So that's why we use unified modeling language. Now, what's an aspect of a use case diagram? Like, what is the little stick figure called? What is the little circles with the words in it called? What are those arrows? What are actors? Yeah, perfect. Okay. So actors are users of the system. The system is part of it. So the system is the app or the project itself. Okay, then we have use cases. Yeah, perfect. Use cases, which are all the little bubbles that kind of are different functions of the system. And then what's the last one? Associations. Perfect. Associations. Awesome. So these are the 4 main, and then I saw someone said extends and includes. What's the difference between extends and includes? So an extends is a type of association, and includes is a type of association. So what's the difference between the two? There is a picture in week 1. Includes is compulsion. Yep. So it's necessary. So when you start a car, you have to start the engine. When you sneeze, you close your eyes. Right? So includes is mandatory for a use case to happen. And what is extends? Optional. Food with wine. Perfect. Okay. Extends, optional, can happen with a use case. So like in order for me to do a withdrawal from my bank ATM, I have to log in, right? So it's included. Awesome. Okay, cool. Anything else that we covered? 4 main parts: relationships, associations, extends, includes, use cases. I think that's pretty much it. Awesome. Okay. So we'll save that. You guys can see that little blurb right there. Last week we learned. All right, so we'll start the PowerPoint here, and we'll get into a bit of this week's material. So let me close this. PowerPoint week 2. You can download it if you want to follow it along. All right, awesome guys, good work in the chat answering all those. All right, so again, here's the SDLC, System Development Lifecycle. There's the 5 phases, and here's some images that kind of go with them. Here's what a use case looks like. Remember, we did this for Blackboard. And then here's an example of the extends and includes relationship. So I said the sneeze one. So it's kind of a funny way to remember it. But every time you sneeze, it's impossible to sneeze without closing your eyes. So that's an includes because it's mandatory, right? Whereas saying excuse me or bless you after or whatever is optional. So it's polite to do, but people don't always do it. So it's an extend because it's optional. Awesome. Cool. Another example here with the banking app, customer in the bank, logging in, verifying your password, etc. So another type of UML, of Unified Modeling Language, that I want to talk about today is an activity diagram. Has anyone used an activity diagram in the past before? Not yet. Okay. You have, Krupa? Cool. All right. What did you use, Zalak? You have? Awesome. So what did you use your activity diagram for?
Hello, sir.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm good. It's going good.
So you said that you've used one before, Zalak?
Yes, in my bachelor engineering, in the last semester, we have a project, and that we have to use all the diagrams like UML, use case, activity, flowchart, database.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And what was the actual project that you ended up developing
In
with?
that case, I have collaboration with one company. I was a trainee at there, so it was Neuron Space, US based company.
Cool. And what
Yeah.
did the application do?
It was website. It was doing analyzing billions and trillions of data, and we are reducing and we are clearing the noises from the data. So we are using Python and machine learning to do that.
Oh, very cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes.
Sweet. That sounds like an awesome experience. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of you guys have used it. Daljeet in designing apps, perfect. And overlays. Okay, cool. So yeah, I can go through this section a little bit faster if you guys know what they are, but basically it's a visual representation of the use case diagram, but with a flow of control. So it kind of shows the order that everything happens. So if you imagine all the steps that we have in a use case diagram like this, there's no order to it. It's just kind of what can happen. Whereas an activity diagram actually shows the order flow. Okay, so we have arrows with, step 1, step 2, whatever. So going through, I'm just going to show some basic notation just to, refresh for you guys who have done it before. But the circle with the arrow is the start point at the beginning node. It's the initial state where the activity diagram begins. Then you have this circle activity, which is very similar to a use case activity. And it's basically an action or something that can happen. So all your use cases in here, like login, check balance, basically become an activity at some point. It's basically like a one-to-one relationship. So the action flow is the arrow that happens between events or activities. So you would draw an arrow into this one and an arrow out of it if there was activities that happened on either side. And the object flow is what flows from an activity to, say, a class or an object if it's not necessarily an action, but it's a class or object from your code. Typically, we'll just keep with activities for this. Decisions and branching are represented by a diamond. So there's going to be alternate paths or multiple things that can happen. So maybe on one side you have yes, one side you have no, and depending on whether something is successful or not, that branches off depending on the result. So we can see here we have guards, which are the no or the yes, which go to the specific action in correlation with whether or not something was successful or not. Cool. Synchronization basically is when something can split off or join in together. So I'll zoom into this one. It's a little small, but basically you have a fork node. So if you imagine a fork, like you literally eat dinner with a fork, and it goes from, one into many prongs, right? You have like 3 or 4 prongs on your fork. Here we have one main fork, and that's forking off into multiple activities. And this basically represents if these activities are happening synchronously at the exact same time, side by side. So they can happen at the exact same time, and then they join back together at this join node, which is this horizontal line, back into one activity flow. All right. A time event is represented by this hourglass icon. So it kind of looks like one of those hourglasses that you tip over with sand in it. And we use this, say, if you wanted to wait during something for your system, you could put this without, I don't know how many hours you wanted to wait. So cool. A merge event is basically when everything merges back into one path. And then if you want to send and receive signals, you can use this. You don't use this one too often, but you just add a little angle onto your activity. An interrupting edge, we also don't use this one too often, but basically if something gets canceled or the flow is interrupted, you use a lightning bolt. And some examples of fully fleshed out systems. So this is a activity diagram, but it also has something called swim lanes. Swim lanes are these vertical groupings, columns that basically group related activities together. So in this example, this could be for something like Amazon or FedEx, any order processing system. Basically, you have a customer swim lane, an order swim lane, an accounting swim lane, and a shipping swim lane. And all of the activities that relate to the customer, we put in the customer column. All of the activities that relate to orders, we put in the order column, and so on. So basically, we can see our start node here that goes, I'm going to annotate as I do this. We have our start node here, and then basically it flows down and it splits off here at this fork node. At the fork node, this happens synchronously. All of this stuff in here, right? All of this and coming back. That all happens at the same time. So basically, it's going through the order swim lane, the accounting swim lane, the shipping swim lane, and basically what they're going to do is they're going to take that order, process it, pack it in a box, record the shipping, ship the order, and then join back to the main node. So basically, don't get too confused by the swim lanes. It's just a way of kind of visually representing related activities together. And you don't have to do swim lanes. It's just sometimes a little bit neater to do them this way if you have a lot of related activities for, say, like a customer or something. Then he receives the order, pays the bill, and then closes the order in accounting. And there's your final state icon, which is represented by this hollow circle. Cool. So here's another example with the timer event in it. So if you were to establish an email connection and split off, you can receive an email, okay, but you can also send an email. And those things can happen at the exact same time. Now, while we're sending an email, let's decide whether or not we have private content in it. If there's private content, we encrypt the email, and we can see by this subsidiary activity diagram that there's a subsequent diagram that goes with this. So basically, you can have a high level, and then you can break it down into lower things. So they have an actual activity diagram for the encryption as well. If it's a regular email, we don't encrypt it, so we go on this side of the diamond. So the diamond, it makes a decision, remember that? So yes or no, is it encrypted? We join back with the merge, and then here back at the join node, and then the communication's established, that email is sent. Let's say we received an email, okay? You don't want to respond to an email right away because it just maybe looks bad, or you want to wait a little bit before you send something to your boss. So you wait 2 hours, and that's represented by this hourglass. And if there is a valid reply, then the communication was established with your boss, and that's awesome. And if there's no reply, then whatever, you end the program there with an error or something like that. Cool. Another example, we already covered this one with the swim lanes and order processing. Cool. Any questions about activity diagrams? Is that pretty basic run through? Most of you guys used them before, so I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but Any questions? Don't want to jump ahead. If anyone's got a question, then we can talk about it. No questions? Cool. So again, using GenMyModel, did anybody actually get a chance to use the GenMyModel program? You should have. For the lab one, we had to submit the use cases. They also have, cool, we got some thumbs up. Nice, Harshit, sweet. They also have a way to make an activity diagram. Okay, sweet, Sandeep, Dash, Krupa, cool. Nice. Yeah, I actually really like it. So we can make a new project here, and we choose UML, and it's free to make an account. So if you don't have an account yet, make one. Blank project. This is going to be an activity diagram. And we can choose the type, and instead of class or use case, this time we'll choose activity, make it private, sure, and create. And then, oh, do I have to give it a description? Oh, can't be. Activity diagram, copy paste, activity diagram, cool. No underscores. And I will open it in the editor. So basically how we make an activity diagram is the exact same way we make our use case diagram. Great tool. I really like this website. But if you have another tool that you like, then you can totally use that one as well. Totally up to you. Same thing over here on the left-hand side. We can see all of our control flow, object flow, initial node, activity final, join nodes, fork nodes, all of that stuff I was telling you about. Because we selected activity diagram, it's going to be here. So let's say we're doing that ATM, right? Now we always start with the initial node, and then hopefully I can open my ATM project at the same time. You guys are going to be doing this today, by the way, so it's good for you to know what we're covering. If I open this, sure, that'll work. So basically, we can look at our use case diagram that shows us all the activities, and then we can make the activities and put them in the right order. So we have login, deposit funds, withdraw funds. So I'll just start making some of those. So action, login. And you guys can start telling me in the chat, what order should I put these in? Draw funds, deposit funds, enter PIN. Incorrect PIN. What happens first? Correct PIN. Check balance. Now, typically, like you can see here, we have multiple actors. You would do an activity diagram from each perspective of each actor. So I'm not going to include stuff from the technician or the bank. I'm just going to do stuff for the customer. So check balance, withdraw funds, deposit, login, and bad PIN. And then we can make another one for a different actor after. Could just be too confusing. I mean, you could have join nodes and stuff, but then you wouldn't know, like, is that bank stuff happening at the same time? Or we could do swim lanes if we really wanted to have an interaction between the two actors. So, okay, a decision, Harshit. So what do you mean by a decision? What do I connect this to for a decision? What's my very first thing that I would do when I walk up?
After login, decision where if it is correct, end up in, so it will go to next activity, or it will go to bad pin, or like that.
Okay, so we have incorrect pin. Okay. So you want these down here like that?
Yes.
Okay.
So after login, end up in, then decision, left would be incorrect, right would be correct pin.
Okay, so we have our decision node here, cool, which is the diamond. So do we log in first or do we enter our PIN first? Which one do we do first? Enter PIN first, says Justin.
We can consider login as an activity, like I am trying to log in, so I will insert my my ATM card.
I see. Okay. Or I guess the way it depends how you view it. So the way I view it is the first thing you would do. I guess we're missing one. The first thing you would do is insert your card right into the machine. So that's the very, very first thing. You walk up to the machine, and you insert the card. So we've got some control flow. Okay, so we insert our card. Now, I don't think you can actually consider yourself logging in unless the PIN was correct. Would you agree with me on that one, Harshit?
So it will come down after the correct pin.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Cool. So we insert our card and then we enter our PIN. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay. And then now we need to make a decision. So that's what you're talking about, the decision. And so now what? Now what do we do?
Now, so if enter pin, if it is correct pin, so
So like this?
yes.
Okay. Now I need to figure out, okay.
So after from incorrect pin, we need to connect it back to enter pin for incorrect pin.
Okay. So would we give a feedback loop? So we give something before we go back to entering the PIN. Do we tell them? What would we say? Give feedback to user. So that way they know. All right. And then go back to entering the PIN. Now you can repeat this. I don't know how many times are you allowed to do that? 3 times, I think. So what we could do, I don't know if there's a way to a comment. We could add a comment, allow incorrect PIN 3 times, right? And then it blocks the card, right? I think that's fair. I think that's okay. So we can just put that there. All right, so once we log in, now what? Harshit, you did a good job. Who else wants to go? Yeah, try again, Rahul. You're good. Yep, exactly. So give feedback to the user to try again. So we did that. So once we're logged in, we're successful. We've logged in. Well, I'm not going to withdraw and then deposit and then check my balance all at the same time. So could make a decision, I suppose, right? Or automatically they check their balance when they log in, right? Like that's the first thing you show them. So you could do that first. You know, you kind of got to think about it and think like what's the correct order here? How would it exactly work? And then they can decide to withdraw, deposit, or log out. So log out would be one. I'm sure there's a ton of other things that we could do, but we're going to keep it relatively simple as we're getting into it. And it's really nice. It has these alignment things so we can line it up. So I wanted to try to show an example of something where it joins and forks, but I don't know if that's necessarily correct for this example. But you can join and fork off of these nodes just for future reference. I think you can rotate them too if you want to do it vertically. So I'll just delete that. Okay, so we'll do a decision right here. I'm going to bring these down a little bit. And we'll do some control flow, and they can decide whether or not they want to deposit or withdraw. Depends on what the customer wants. And then once they log out, we have our activity final, right? And that would be your activity diagram right there. Does that make sense to everyone? Any questions about that? Cool. Okay, we got thumbs up. Awesome. Sweet. Cool. All right. So that is GenMyModel. That's how you make it an activity diagram. Okay. So that is activity diagrams that I wanted to cover in the PowerPoint. So now what we're going to do, you guys have your brainstorm document hopefully finished and uploaded in the lab for today. What I want you guys to do now is we're going to use a website called Miro.com, and I'm going to put it into the chat. you have to sign up. It's free. You can sign up through Google. You can sign up with your email. But basically, I'll show you here how we're going to use it. It's a team collaboration app, so for online brainstorming and whatnot. And I have created a template here that we're going to use. You can see on my screen here. I have put everyone's name and assigned it to a color. So across the board on the top here, we'll just use this first row so that we'll just leave some of these other ones blank. But each color gets their own board. And if you're doing this asynchronously, you can come get the link. I'll post this link. So basically, I'm going to invite a link to a board and a team, copy that invite link. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. Okay. And you can click that to join, and you'll see your little mouse cursor join up here in the top right. And I'm going to put that link up in Blackboard. Item, Miro collaboration link. Cool. There it is. All right. And it's pretty straightforward. What we're going to do, though, is take some time to play around with this. Okay, cool. So we've got Nithaparan here, and Sandeep just joined. Cool. So basically, yeah, Nithaparan, you're orange. So if we zoom in here, we can see, I don't know why this one's gone gray for some reason. I'll go on to the first one here because I don't think Tom's in class right now. But this red one is Tom. And basically, you can click this little mouse here instead of the hand to navigate. And this left toolbar is going to be how you can add or manipulate anything on the screen. So I've grouped all of these together. Don't ungroup them. And I think, are they locked? No, I don't think they're locked. So you can, they won't move, but you don't need to move them anyways. So we'll start with number 1. And this is going to be kind of what brand do you want your app idea to have. So we started brainstorming, right? And for me, let's say I want to do that dog walking business, right? Now I'll delete these after I do it, but I would start putting out, what brand ideas, what personalities do I want my my business or my brand to have? And there is some helpful documents for this. So I will just show you those right now. I think they're on Blackboard. Okay, so on Blackboard, while you guys are getting comfortable with Miro, this in-class exercise week 2 is a Word doc. It looks like this. If you download it, it's supposed to help you with today's activity. And it's to help you brainstorm some ideas for your app as we're going to start assignment 1 very soon. And it's encouraged to get feedback from your classmates on these ideas. Now, what we're doing today, this is for this is going to be for the in-class lab today. So it's, if you do it with us while we're working in class, you'll have it done. So you can just upload it to the lab before next week. Sometimes we think we have a good idea, but we just need another set of eyes to see if it really is that special idea. Hopefully at the end of this activity, you'll have a better understanding of what you want to focus on for the rest of the semester by designing and developing for your final project. So how do you create a brand? How do you create something? You can make up a word like Pepsi. You can reframe an unrelated word like Apple, but it's for computers. You can use a suggestive word or metaphor like buffer. You can describe, so the shoe company. Alter a word by removing or adding letters, so Tumblr, right, or Activia. Using initials, so HBO, home box office. Combining 2 words, pin and interest, or Facebook, Pinterest, right. Turning a string of words into an acronym, so BMW is Bearish Motoren Werk, BMW, right? So that's how we choose our name. And that'll be step 1. Where'd I go here? Your brand, idea, personality, right? Your slogan. So there's a section here for slogan, number 4, logos, colors, all of that stuff. There's suggestions on how to do slogans here. Designing your logo, freelogodesign.org. Okay, we can use those and they're free. So if you type that in, freelogodesign.org, and you can enter a category here. I can do animals and pets. dog walking. And look at that. I got some cool, there, logos that I can start putting in. And you can just use them as mock-ups, right? You don't have to actually use this as your actual logo. Choose the look of your brand, so colors and fonts. If your brand was a person, choose 3 to 5 words that would describe him or her. So you can do this for number 1. You know, for my dog walking company, do I want it to be goofy? Do I want it to be, you know, chill? Do I want it to be energetic? What do you want it to be? Do you want it to be over the top, rugged? What's your brand? So choose 3 to 5 of those words and put them on your board here in your brand idea and personality. Number 2 is your actual app ideas. So here I would click this little sticky note or click the letter N, and then you can get your color and start typing in here. Change your font to go down to like, I don't know, 12 or 14. Dog walking company, right? Products, features, enhancements, ideas that'll help your target audience achieve the benefits they're seeking. So what features would my dog walking company have? Well, oops. The dog walking company would go here. Okay. And then, you know, what features would it have? Well, people could use my app to book appointments for their dog to be walked automatically by someone nearby that day, right? And then you just list all your products and features. Number 3, users and target audience. My target audience is, now I'm coming up with these really fast, but I want you guys to have like 3 to 5 sticky notes in each section. My target audience is going to be working parents who don't have time to walk their dog, right? And you can zoom in and out with your scroll wheel like this. So I can see this whole section like this and blow it up like that, make it really small. Some examples are up here if you want to see. These are from a couple semesters ago. I just kept a couple of them for ideas. Don't worry about the arrows. They look really messy, and I've decided to stop doing them, and everyone will have their own individual board. But when we did this in the past, everyone collaborated on one board, so it kind of got a little crazy. Logo, slogan, you copy and paste your images there. Number 5, what already exists. So I want you to have 3 to 5 sticky notes in this section for what companies already exist. So I would literally go to Google and be like, dog walking companies near me, right? And here we go. We've got Leanna's Pet Services, Alliance Pet Care, Rover.com, and we can check some of those companies out. And I want you to research, you know, boarding, drop-in visits, doggy daycare, dog walking, one time, repeat weekly. I'm going to take a look at some of the features they have. $20 per walk. Here's your, you know, you've got a guy named Luke. He's 5 stars. I've got a map of Barrie, and I can see, you know, where these dog walkers are. So that's a feature. So maybe that's a feature I want to add to mine, right? On a map of dog walkers in the area, what already exists. So rover.com actually looks pretty cool, right? So rover.com. What is already out there that's similar to your idea? What companies or apps are doing something that could compete with your project? So then I want you guys to say, you know, what is rover.com doing and what are you going to do better? Like what features are they missing? Rover.com has a great user interface showing user profiles and dog walkers near me. I can make weekly bookings and repeat my dog walking. I can view a map of the dog walkers in my area, right? And that's a cool feature. And so I put that there. And if you wanted to use an arrow, you click the arrow and make a connection line between rover.com and all those features. Okay, so that's number 5. And then UML mockups. So down here, oops, I just moved my whole thing. Turn off the mouse so that you can grab it with your hand. UML mockups. So attach some of the mockups from your GenMy model. So basically, if I go here, if I were to screenshot this, okay, say this was my dog walking activity diagram. I know it's not, but just for example, I don't know if you can paste. Can I paste? Yes, I can. Cool. So it'll upload your image. I just copied and pasted that. I'm going to shrink it down, put it right in there. And there's my activity diagram and my use case diagram I would put in there too, right? Wherever my use case diagram is. So maybe I'm beating a dead horse here by over explaining it, but I want you guys to understand what the purpose of this is basically you're going to come up with all your ideas, write them down. Number 7 is going to be the technologies and languages you use. So you might want to use Android, JavaScript, I don't know, Java, Android Studio, right? HTML, CSS. What technologies do you want to use? A web server, a database? And then what would make your idea better? So this column is for other classmates to come around. And I want you guys to basically leave room and go to 2 other people's boards, review what they're doing, and then give them a suggestion about like maybe a feature that would be cooler, or like say like, oh yeah, Rover's cool, but they're missing this. And so this is the thing that I was talking about with the extra set of eyes. So basically go around to 2 people's boards, look at their idea, look at their logo, look at their UML diagram, and think you really appreciate the way of detailed teaching. Oh, sorry. Thank you. So you'll look at their diagram and you'll zoom in and then you'll add a note here by clicking N. And then, there you go. You'll be able to have a full board and then you'll come back to your board at the end. So if this was Tom and he has all his things, obviously this is not enough here. You want to have 3 to 5 sticky notes in each thing. He could come here, leave this up for a week, and each person's going to go to 2 people. So everyone should have at least 2 responses on their own board. So don't all like if you see one that already has 2 different classmates on it, then don't comment on that one. Go to someone that's empty and give them some suggestions, give them some, helpful things, tell them something you like about it, and then give them some constructive criticism. Cool. One other thing to note, okay, so I can see, I think 3 of you guys are online here. So one other thing to note, yeah, it goes all the way to the end. So I think I've got one for every single person, is I can see the history of this entire project, which is really cool. So Nithaparan, if you want to, can you edit my note or something, or add a feedback to my number 8 column here? Yeah, add a note there and then type. So you can see this is literally happening live. I can hit board history. This is nice for me as the teacher because I can kind of come in here. I can hit this button and I can see you guys interacting with each other. So is it not letting you type on it, Nithaparan?
I typed something, but it's not appearing, I guess.
I think it showed up there now. Maybe not.
Maybe I'll try again.
I want to make sure these aren't locked. Yeah, they're not locked. Okay,
It's
yeah,
coming,
so he
right?
typed. So, yep, I can see it now. Perfect. So check this out. On the left-hand side, I'll just annotate this for you guys. But basically, I can see here, that's everything he did. He added a shape at this time, right here, 1556, which is 356. And then he typed ASSDF, whatever, on a sticky note. Right? Or whatever, helpful critical feedback he's going to give. Here's all my stuff that I've done because I added all this stuff. But then we can see, whatever these users, I added this text, which was all the users on the side. So yeah, go for it. Have fun. Enjoy this. It's really cool as a team collaboration tool. So I wanted you guys to see, for example, like we used this when I worked at the company that I was at in Toronto to develop those huge applications, and we all got on the board, and it was really cool because we had a board like this, and 10 of us, and it was like you have 15 minutes, write down as much as you can, and go crazy, and then stop, and then keep the good stuff and get rid of the bad stuff. And everybody put like, I don't know, 50 sticky notes, and then you just go through them. It was actually really cool. So, oh, look at this. See, we've got, oh no, that was up there from before. Cool. All right. So, yeah, so you can see I edited the sticky note and I moved it, right? So pretty neat. Anyways, so I wanted to get you guys set up with that and give you a little bit of time in class to work on this. And I'll be here to answer any questions. I'll just mute my mic and turn my camera off. So I'll give you guys, I want to say half an hour, 20 minutes to 30 minutes to actually work on this and start doing your brainstorming. And keep in mind, there is a lot that goes into this. So it's not only just writing sticky notes, but there's also going to be, say like if this is the logo that I liked and I wanted to screenshot it or download it or whatever, this is obviously has like watermarks on it. But if I just screenshot it, copy it to my clipboard, and then if I wanted to put it in here, you know, it's going to start uploading. There it is. I can just shrink it. So you got to make a logo. You got to make your UML diagrams and put them in there, right? Oops. Careful when I move around. I'll make this a little bigger so you can actually see it. Right? And then at the end of the day, you're going to have this really awesome billboard of all of your ideas with helpful feedback from others. And then we're going to do something with it. Okay. And I'll tell you guys what we're going to do. But we're going to take, you know, feel free to take a 10-minute break if you want. We're going to work on this until 4:30, roughly 4:20, 4:30. I'll do some check-ins along the way just to see if everyone's got questions. But please get logged in, get set up. I think there's only 3 of you guys in here right now, but there's 11 people watching. So please, please, please do try to get familiar with this workspace now, because I'm here to help you now versus you know, you working on it over the weekend or something like that. So we've got Sandeep, Shah, Francis, and Venedia or Zalak, Nitaparan, Krupa, and Johal. Thanks for joining, guys. It's awesome. You can do, so it's really cool. I've barely showed you some of the stuff you can do. We've got arrows. We've got a pen if you want to draw. We've got comments, frames. You can upload pictures. You can use the marker. You can use text. You can use templates. So this is kind of cool. You can, you know, do mind maps and all of that stuff for other classes if you ever need to do a mind map. There's reactions up here. So up in the top right, I can do like a thumbs up and everyone will get that on their screen. Or if you want to do like a little party, you can raise your hand and then lower your hand. So if you had a question up there, it's kind of a neat workspace for that. I think you can also do, if I wanted to do a timer, oh, you have to upgrade to use some of those features. But if you do pay for like the pro version, you can do video chat while you collaborate. You can do like a vote, all of that stuff, but that's all screen sharing and all that stuff. Oh, I'm actually not going to do that. Yeah, chat. So if you guys want to chat over here, say like hi. So if you guys weren't online or whatever at the same time, you could do stuff in the chat, presentation mode, and yeah, etc. So get a head start on that because we're going to submit this for our lab. So go to your color and then zoom in and get started, guys. Any questions before I mute myself and pause the recording? Got a thumbs up. Cool. So there's 5 people in here. Hopefully there's going to be 11 because we've got, I think, 1, 2, 3, 14. So the 11 of 14 would be really great if we could get you guys into in here. Cool, Jithan, awesome. Sounds good. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording here. So for those of you watching asynchronously, we'll rejoin after we've had a chance to work on this. My recording, actually. Welcome back to the recording. So we had a little bit of time to play around with Miro, and we definitely have some cool stuff going on here. Promo Hub, booking rental cars, and crop caliber. And there's just some awesome collaboration going in here with feedback on other people's stuff. So don't forget to add feedback. So this one has 2 sticky notes already, which is awesome. So don't forget to add feedback and make sure it's effective feedback. So don't just add a couple words, but make sure you're descriptive and effective with the type of feedback that you give. Make sure there's something positive and then something that could use improvement. Okay, so try to be considerate. These are people's ideas. These are people's, you know, dreams that they want to build. So don't be too harsh when you're giving the feedback. Awesome. Okay, cool. So coming back to Blackboard, there's a GitHub link here, and we're going to talk a bit about GitHub here. I don't want to take too long because we won't go too late today, but basically on GitHub is my Brainstorm 2021 for app mobile portfolio 2. And you can see here's a screenshot. So this is what you guys are going to do. You're going to take a screenshot of your finished board once you're finished, and then you're going to give a bit of an intro in your README page. So you won't have any code yet, but eventually this is going to be where your entire project lives, okay? You're going to keep all your README, you're going to keep your images, you're going to keep your HTML, whatever you make. So your portfolio site as well as your actual project for your code will be on GitHub. You're going to give an intro about what your project would be. You're going to talk about why I use version control. You're going to talk about the inception phase, so how you came up with your idea and why you're planning and why we're using GenMyModel and Miro. And then you're going to have the link to the Miro board right there. And then here, you're going to actually include screenshots of the UML diagrams blown up so that they're bigger versions in the GitHub README, okay? And then here, this is just for your reference so that you guys know how to do Markdown language, but basically it's just an HTML document with different type of syntax so that you can get, like for a heading, you do a hashtag like that, and the number of hashtags you do depends on the size of heading you want. So heading 1 is this size, heading 6 would be just slightly bigger than normal text. This is how you append an image to a GitHub README, etc. Cool. So who has used GitHub before? Can I get a show of hands or how comfortable you guys are with GitHub? Thumbs up by Nithaparan, Krupa, cool, Jithan, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Cool. So going through the PowerPoint here, we've brainstormed our apps. This is all in the PowerPoint for you guys, but GitHub Desktop, or if you use the bash control, you can download the GitHub Desktop app from Google. So you just Google it and you follow the little tutorial there. And basically the first step they're going to get you to do is install a text editor. So for me, I like to use Visual Studio Code. That's my default editor. You can choose to use Sublime or Brackets or whatever text editor you want for your HTML and all of that good stuff. And then they're going to get you to create a branch. So they're going to tell you how to do all the code, and you add an index.html to the file. And they're going to get you to create a new branch, call it whatever you want, and then basically they want you to add a line of code to the README file in that branch. So write your name on line 6. So then basically I have edited this file on line 7. I added a file or a line, and you can see these are the changes you made in GitHub right there. The green, those 2 lines I added. So then what we're going to do is we're going to make a commit. That's step 4. And then you're going to put in the summary and description of what your commit was. So I added 1 sentence, and then I hit the commit button. It's going to upload to GitHub, and I'm going to have to publish it by pressing the push button, and that'll push it to the online repository. So basically, it's in the local repository, and when you push it, it uploads it to the online repository on github.com. After that, we can go to github.com, and we can see that there's a pull request because we created a separate branch, right? So we have the main branch, and then we have the branch that we created at the beginning called desktop tutorial. And then basically what you're going to do is you're going to have to do a merge request where you open the pull request, hit create pull request, and because you're the only one on the GitHub branch, you can merge it yourself, and it will say that this branch has no conflicts. So basically you just hit merge, it will turn purple and say successfully merged, and then your GitHub repo will be finished. So I want you guys to create a public repo on GitHub. So if everyone has used GitHub before, it won't be too hard for you, but basically you have an account in the top right, you do new repository, call it, mobile app portfolio to underscore your student number or something. Make sure it's public, all right? And then you're going to edit the README file and add the image you made in Miro. Okay, submit your changes and commit and push to GitHub, and then create a branch and make some changes and merge a branch. Then add me as a collaborator. Steps to add me as a collaborator are here. So basically you go to your repository, you click the settings button on the far right. You click manage access, invite a collaborator, and there's my username, Ben Veneragon. So don't forget to do that. That's going to be your lab 2. So I'll send out an email or an update on the weekend for you guys so you don't forget to do that. But basically everything we worked on today on the Miro board, I'm going to be critiquing it or looking at it based on the screenshot you take and upload to your GitHub. And then for the lab, you're going to send me your GitHub link, and I'm expecting to see something along the lines of this in the README. So I can look at this, I can look at these images, etc. Okay, so that'll be your first little lab for this course. All right, does that make sense to everyone? Any questions about how to do that, or pretty straightforward? Nithaparan, awesome, cool. README files are pretty straightforward. Like if I open this README file and I want to edit it, you can actually edit it online on GitHub. So you can click the pencil here, and you can see this is how I added my image. So it's in a ./images folder called brainstorm.png. So if I just if I duplicate, whoops, if I duplicate this file and go back into my main project, I should have an images folder, and then it's brainstorm.png, and it's just linking this image. So you just have to upload those things to your GitHub, and then this is how you reference them. And then this is how I did the intro. This is how I typed my description, right? And then you basically just, save your changes or cancel your changes, and then that's, the word intro, and there's my intro. When is the due date for the GitHub? So it's going to be for next week's class. Okay, so by the start of next week's class, I'm going to be hoping for these to be in, or wanting these in. Cool. So you have 1 week. You guys are off to a really great start here with these being done. So, add your logos, add your UMLs, what would make your idea better, and then, just add it to a README on GitHub with your screenshots of the UMLs as well. Doesn't need to be a huge write-up or anything on the GitHub per se. Like you can literally just say most of the same stuff that I have here for the intro and stuff, but just describe your app instead of my app. And then just make sure you attach these pictures. That's what I'm looking for. Cool, Sandeep. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording there. Any other questions before I stop the recording? You have your hand raised? Someone has their hand raised? Yeah, what's up, Sandeep?
Basically, sir, I have two concerns that are not related to this topic, but the previous one.
Which previous one?
I asked at the starting of class. Basically, I don't know how to post the inception thing. Like, I am going to share my screen.
Okay.
I have ideas for application. Uh, like, can you please tell, do I need to mention the application ideas like this? App idea 1, app idea 2 or 3 on that form that you gave on the last weekend?
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, okay. The and another concern is wait. Okay. Can you please tell me how to switch between the can you see the UML diagram that on my screen?
I just see a white screen right now.
Okay, wait. Mhm. Uh, this one. Like I have posted my UML diagram on the lab one, but I don't know, somehow I forgot to attach Bill's note to the receptionist in the picture that I have posted to you.
Okay.
Can you can I upload this version right now, or is it done?
Let me check.
Like there is the option to start new. I
There
saw
is an option to?
start new.
Yeah, so I think if you just do that option to start a new one, then you should be fine. I was gonna just mention, if you go back to your thing there,
Yeah, there is
yeah,
start
just
new.
start new. Yeah, totally. Go back to your thing just for a second. Something to keep in mind for everybody. But yeah, go to your UML diagram.
Okay.
So when you have the use cases, so you have the word insurance and bills. Try your best to come up with like a verb. So a use case is typically like a verb. So doing what with insurance? Like registering insurance, or billing insurance. For bills, are they documenting the bills, or are they paying bills? Are they receiving bills, or are they sending bills?
Okay,
So try to
basically,
come up with the verb.
I wanted to mention the receiving the bills from the insurance company, like insurance payment, I would mention here.
So totally, the more descriptive you can be with that. So like surgery, for dental clinic management system, are they like receiving a surgery, or are they the ones giving surgery, right? So like I know it's the patient, so it says surgery. So they're obviously going to be attending the surgery. So try to have like a verb that goes like with that. So like withdraw, when I talk about the bank appointment, like log in is a verb, withdraw is a verb, deposit is a verb, surgery is a noun. So that's just like a person, place, or thing. But like receiving surgery or something like that. Does that make sense? Just to be a bit more descriptive?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, totally. No worries. And that's just, I wasn't trying to pick on you at all, Sandeep. I was just saying that so that everybody has that um yeah, that little tidbit of information. Cool. Awesome. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Make sure I'm in the chat here. So the GitHub will be due next week, and I'll have the thing open in week 3 for you guys to submit it. Make sure for today, I'm in the wrong week here. Weekly learning, week 2. Make sure you submit that brainstorm document, and then for week 3, we'll be submitting what we worked on this week. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording there.